Welcome to my channel, The Protestant Crusader. This is my first video. Hopefully subsequent videos will improve in quality. So what is the purpose of this channel? What is its crux? What is it that I am trying to achieve? C.S. Lewis wrote in his famous book, Mere Christianity, that Christianity is a fighting religion. It thinks God made the world, that space and time, heat and cold, and all the colors and tastes, and all the animals and vegetables are things that God made up out of his head, as a man makes up a story. But also thinks that a great many things have gone wrong with the world that God made, and that God insists, and insists very loudly on our putting them right again. So, as a Protestant Christian, I believe the reason many of my Protestant brothers and sisters have succumbed to a sort of spiritual malaise, afraid of being called names, and hesitant to take a stand on tough biblical issues is simply because they don't know church history. They don't know its heroes or the contributions of, dare I say it as a Baptist, the Catholic Church. So our heroic Christian history begins with God sacrificing himself for mankind. Jesus Christ's sacrifice was followed by an ever-growing line of martyrs who gave everything for the gospel as they sought to snatch others from the flames. Men who defied the Jewish elders, defied Rome and its leaders, and daily faced death and prison. Too many Western Christians have become hesitant to speak the truth boldly for the simple fear of social rejection. They cite verses out of context. They prop up unchristian ideologies with vague biblical references, and they ignore problematic verses. All in the name of Christian love and avoiding offense. They love for love's sake, while their medieval brethren strapped on swords and adjusted armor, believing there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Those barbaric and uncouth men pushed back against the tide of Islamic invasions and sacrificed their lives to protect Christian pilgrims, churches, and preserve Christendom. Their sacrifices preserved the gospel freedom we so richly enjoy today. A medieval person would be shocked at much of the modern theological debates about what is and is not acceptable within the church. Not because they were unintelligent, but because the Bible spelled out many of these issues in black and white. Yet many modern Christians seek compromise with hard biblical truths, where compromise was never an option. The Catholic Church, it has its issues, past and present, and I disagree with much of Catholic theology. But regardless of imperfections and disagreements on theology, many Protestants have wrongly ignored its role in preserving Western Christianity and ensuring the gospel endured to reach us. Too many Protestants see only a few bright spots after the New Testament, such as Augustine and Aquinas, and then suddenly a big bang emerges out of spiritual darkness with the arrival of Martin Luther and the Reformation. Yet, without Catholicism's defense of Christendom through its military orders, holy leagues, theological debates, and monastic traditions, the fertile soil in which the Reformation and Protestantism took root would not have existed. The Catholic Church's efforts to keep Christendom alive allowed the Reformation to blossom. This ignorance and even disdain towards much of Catholic history has caused many Protestants to miss out on the rich heritage and sacrifices of our shared Christian legacy. Worse still, countless brave men died to keep the light of Christ alive through the ages. And now too many Western Christians fear being called an offensive name. The courage of these saints who came before us calls us to rediscover a faith that is willing to fight the hard battles with gospel truth, conviction, and a love that fears neither death nor insult. The saints' legacies and trials and tribulations are our inheritance as Christians, and their undying courage should call us to be bold in this present age. As I record this first video a few days ago, a priest in Spain was arrested for, I believe, going on a podcast and saying some things that were critical of Islam, not hateful, but critical of Islam from a religious perspective. And he was arrested. This is Spain. This is the country that waged the Reconquista for almost 800 years to take back their country from the Moors, from constant Islamic evasion and aggression, the destruction of churches, the enslavement of Spaniards, the rape and pillage of the rape of women, the pillage of cathedrals, of towns and villages, constant violence. These men and women of Spain gave their lives. Some of them bankrupted themselves to fight Islam. We have the great heroes such as El Cid. And here we are, fast forward to the 21st century, and a priest making some innocent comments on a podcast is worthy of arrest. What has happened to the West? And it's not just Spain. We see this in many areas throughout Europe, where we have our modern day Western Christians that are spitting in the face of their ancestors. The ancestors that have given so much. Godfrey of Bouillon, Richard the Lionheart, Louis, St. Louis, and all he did. We have so many Christian saints, John Hunyadi, Skanderbeg, Bohemond, all of these great Christian heroes who fought and tried to stem the tide of Islam. And now, all of their efforts, their sacrifices, their deaths, their losses, the bankrupting of country, the losses of so much treasure has been washed away because we are too afraid to speak up. Much less go out and physically fight to protect Christendom as these men did. I'm not necessarily glorifying war or even calling for that, but we're in a point where that's what these men did. And now we are too afraid to speak. We're too afraid to speak of who can lead a church, of what is and what is not a sin. We as Westerners, we have inherited this rich legacy of courageous Christians that have done so much to bring the gospel to us and give us the prosperity that we have today. And here we are just turning our backs to it. Hopefully this channel will be educational, it will be instructive, and most importantly, it will give you the courage to stand up as a Christian, to speak the hard truths in the face of doubts, insults, and other trials and tribulations. Thank you.